And this should be a quick little video as we're not really expanding it, but we're going to make our inventory with our changes to our functionality added to the crate. We're going to make that work on clients as well. As right now, I'm on a client, click it, transfer, nothing happens. As well as we're going to fix that issue. Let's actually fix that right now. So if we go to our inventory base, go to our create storage widget. Over here, our add to viewport, delete it. Same thing with our create inventory widget. Add to viewport, delete. And just compile and save. So now when we open and close our inventories, we're good to go. Actually, I forgot, we have to null out the chest as well. So if we can actually do that is on top of that. So anyways, now that we got rid of that stupid little error, let's go ahead and null out the chest for when we so it's the chest inventory is not always coming up whenever we open our inventory away from the chest. So back in our interact function, this should have been the last thing we touched. We have our else if, which checks for the storage container. We're just simply going to make another else. Then we simply opened container equals null pointer. And I want to do this on inventory closed as well, just to be on the safe side. So that is somewhere. It wasn't down that far. Alright, it was literally right above it. So here's where we close our inventory. We set it to false. And let's go ahead and build. Any day now. There it goes. Alrighty, so let's test it real quick. I'm just going to run on one client. Here, server. Alright, so that opens up. We test normally. Alright, cool. The inventory for the chest no longer shows up on top of it. So now, we need to make our storage inventory accessible through functionable through the client. So you see here we have our transfer item function, but just like our drop item and use item, those are being performed on the client, and they make a call to the server. So for drop item, we call this on the client. The client makes a call to the server to drop the item. Now what that does, drop item for the example, which is, alright, so we call it drop item. The heck is it? Okay, it's at the bottom. We simply call in server to drop item function, which runs its validate, and we go based off of whether or not the client actually has that item. So we simply check if the client has the item. If that is the case, then we first make sure we are in fact on the server. Then we drop the item from there. Well, it's going to be the same concept for transferring. We're going to go from the client to the server. So this is going to be called on the client. Then we're going to have a server function. And that server is going to check if the client does in fact have that item. And if it does, we're going to move the items from our client inventory to the inventory of the storage container. So we can go ahead and make a copy of our use item server function and just change use to transfer. Then change the parameters to take in a container. Now we simply create the definitions of the validate and the implementation functions. Just like so. I'm doing that by pressing Alt and Enter, by the way. Now in our .cpp, we have here. Alright, so they're right below our transfer item function. So we're going to return whether or not item is valid. So check if client has item, we're going to pass in item. So if that is the case, then the implementation function will run. First off, if get owner role equals role authority, we will then check if the container is valid. Actually, we can do that just to be safe. So if container, yeah, because item won't run otherwise if it's not valid, so it doesn't matter. So if container is valid, I'm going to double check that we're on the server. Screw it. I'm getting kind of twisted here. So if the container is valid, we're going to do what our transfer item does here. Just like so. Then from our transfer item function, we then call server underscore transfer item, pass in container and item. Let's go ahead and build, and this should be good to go. We're going to we can test on the client real quick. I'm going to load up a one client instance and one server for testing. Ready? So we have one client, one server. Here's where we have 3. Here's our server, and here's our client. So server on the left. So let's test with the client first. Grab medkit, click on the medkit, hit transfer. Now let's reopen it. And that did not work. Let's check it on the server. Let's test with the water bottle on the server. And it worked. The client is having an issue. So let's try to figure out where that issue is. So we call our transfer item function on the client, which is, literally right here. So we check if the client has the item. That should return true, and it seems like it did because we were not disconnected from the caller. Pass in our container with the component of the container. Let's try printing out a log real quick. Let's print this out in here. And see if it prints. I'm just going to run as dedicated. Right, go to medkit, click here. Should see a log, which we are not. So let's see. Check. Container check. And let's see where our issue is. I'm almost wondering if container is not showing as valid. Look at transfer. It's almost like it's not doing anything. Let's print off a string in here. We'll do this at and we'll just do it near the end, right before transfer item gets called, and see if we print out testing. We are printing it out. Let's print it out after well, actually it should be open no matter what, really. But it's almost like it's not being called unless I'm overlooking something stupid here. So it is calling transfer item. It's not disconnecting us, which is really strange. Unless somehow the roll is getting screwed up. Yeah. Gotta see the log first. Okay, so now it's showing them for some reason. And it's okay, I guess something just... I really have no idea. Well, let's print this out and try it with 2 different clients. I mean, 1 client, 1 server. Here's our client. I'm gonna transfer a health kit and bottle of water. Client sees them over there. Let's make sure the server does, which it should. And it does. Let's go ahead and move this on over. And we see everything just fine. I'll do one more quick little thing real quick, just to 100% make sure. On client 1, I'm going to add a medkit. Client 1 sees it. Client 2 should see it as well, which he does. Okay, so I don't know exactly what that issue there was caused by, but let's delete the print string. And our logs. Do one more compile, then we'll test outside of the editor, and we should be good to go. Which is here. Run 2 clients. Client 1 and client 2. Gonna transfer health kit over on client 1. Gonna transfer over a can of beans on client 2. Open it. There's our can of beans, and there's our med kit. Voila. Let's go ahead and do a quick little explanation on what we did there. Even though it's pretty self-explanatory at this point if you'd followed anything that I've done previous tutorials. So when I'm in the wrong section. Alright, so when we press our transfer button, we went over this in the previous video, but ultimately it calls our transfer item function. It passes in the container, which would be this box here, and the item that we clicked on into the transfer item function. When transfer item gets called, this is running on the client, so we call server transfer item, which obviously, as you can assume, runs on the server. That's going to simply check if the item is in fact in the user's inventory. If it's not, it's going to kick him out from the server. And if it is, it's going to run the implementation portion. So we're going to just do a quick check, even though I don't really think it's needed at this point, but we're going to make sure we are in fact the server, so we're doing an authority check. If the container is valid, then we simply get the container's inventory component, and we add the item that we have on our client to the inventory, and then we remove it from our own. So we're going from our own inventory to the container's inventory, then removing it from our own inventory immediately after. So it's very simple, and in the next video we will continue to work on it and add more functionality. I'll see you then.